You know what, guys? Just bring it a little bit back. When we were talking about the concentration camps in Poland, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard, but actually after the war, a lot of Nazis were able to escape to like South America, even to like Africa or to like Italy, and like they almost opened like their own like colonies. I would call it.
I love these conversations. These are those conversations that just feed your curiosity. Like, think about this. We've spoken about this many times. This at this point is pretty much a known fact, but there are German colonies in South America. If you know anything about the world and geography, Europe is nowhere near South America. That's a long ride down there.
That really is, but that's also became a benefit for them because they wanted to be as far from people who know them as possible. So that's why they chose Argentina in particular, and it's really interesting why it was Argentina, for example, because before all the great immigration from Germany, they had 240,000 Germans already living there. They were the second biggest group of immigrants from Europe. And it's really crazy story how it even got to this point where they started fleeing to exactly Argentina because they could, for example, flee to like Paraguay or wherever else. And there was this guy, and he rose to power in, I believe, 1946, and he was named Perón, I believe.
Juan Perón.
Exactly.
He was the president of Argentina.
Exactly. And he was in Germany. He met with Hitler.
What, he was a Nazi?
He was not a Nazi. He was like a fascist supporter.
Okay.
And he was so impressed with fascism, Nazism in general, that he was like, okay, I can, one, support what I believe, and two, I can make money of that. Because, guys, I don't know if you know that, but for example, United States took in some of the top tier Nazis because they were scientists. Because knowledge is very precious. USSR, same thing. But who stayed is like engineers, doctors, pilots, sailors. And Perón said like, oh, I cannot fight for the big names, but I will fight for them. And all of a sudden, you have like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of very, very well skilled, very well trained, and very hard-working men who had shady past, right? But when it comes to money, past is nothing. You can always erase your past with enough of dollars.
You know what? Like actually,
Well said, bro. Well said.
I actually did hear that about the Nazis in Argentina, and from what I understand is that U.S. and Soviet Union, they took like top level Nazis that had like, I would say like maybe the most knowledge, but like the mid level, and again they were taking them for like the knowledge about, let's say, army or like scientific stuff, but also about like the intelligence and like all this stuff they kind of knew from the inside of Germany. But at the same time, Argentina or other South American countries would take this mid-level Nazis, which also had very good expertise on specific topics, which helped them grow as a countries too. And speaking of that, there was this guy called Klaus Barbie. He was the chief of Gestapo in Lyon. So he actually was, I guess, he got a visa from the United States, and he was working as a kind of a counterintelligence officer before he actually, before he was like caught maybe like 20 or 30 years later, and then he was, went on a trial and stuff like that. But that only shows that there were so many Nazis that actually got to escape after the war. From my understanding, only maybe 50,000 of them out of the 150,000 that were taking part in all the concentration camps and everything went on a trial and died. 50,000 out of 150,000. Yeah. So there were
50,000 escaped.
Like even more than 50,000. I think actually close to 100,000 escaped. So you had countries like Argentina, you had Bolivia, you had Brazil, you had Chile. Again, some African countries.
So they've gotten to all South America. You said even African countries.
Yeah.
Even African countries, yeah.
So let's say coming real quick to Chile. I don't know if you guys heard of Colonia Dignidad.
Yeah.
So actually, that was started in 1961 by Paul Schaffer. He was a low-level Nazi that actually after coming to Chile, he became very religious, and he opened that colony, which was almost like a cult. So there was a lot of Nazis that were living there. It was like an enclosed community. So actually, when Augusto Pinochet got into the power in Chile, that's when they kind of I guess, maybe sign an agreement. So basically, the colony was protected, but they were serving to Chile as like a kind of torture center. So basically, all the political opponents of Pinochet, they were sent to Colonia Dignidad. They were being tortured and they were being killed. So that was like a very strange place, and that was going for like 20 or almost 30 years, which all the Nazis or like German people that would go there, they basically had to work like 16 hours. They slept 7-8 hours. They would not make any money, and all the income that was earned by them would go straight to the Schaffer, and he would basically spend all the money that he could to kind of like maybe make the colony better, to make sure that they are safe, to like, you know, they had their own bakeries, schools, hospitals. It was like almost like a country within a country, and they were like really enclosed. Like none of them would really even was able to leave the Colonia Dignidad without explicit permission. So that was like a very strange place, and the fact that there were, I think actually it went up to like maybe 1980s or like 81 or 86 for like over 20 years. That's like insane.
Bro, I love how you said it pretty much became a country within a country. Think about that. And from what I understand, even to this day, if you go to Colonia Dignidad, pardon me, they speak German.
Yeah.
They do.
I wonder, like, to what extent that is. Like, if I go up there and walk into a store, are they gonna be like, "¿Cómo estás?" Or are they gonna be like, "Wie geht's?" Something like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, again, like a lot of the people that live there right now, they're like descendants of Nazis.
They're descendants of Nazis, right?
And from what I understand, now it's called like Via Bavaria or
Yeah,
some,
Via Bavaria or something.
Via
like that,
Bavaria. And I believe like they were just even trying to open for tourism, or they're actually open for tourism. So like that's like mind blowing.
Guys, stay tuned. We're gonna be doing episode maybe 10 of the iKONIC podcast in Via Bavaria down in Argentina. So make sure you guys are subscribed.
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna happen.
Never know.
I'm
know.
dead.
Yeah, so just coming back real quick to the Colonia Dignidad. So actually, this guy Paul Schaffer, he apparently was abusing children in Germany. Then he fled to Chile. Then he was abusing children in Chile. And after Pinochet stopped being a president, they were trying to prosecute him. But then he like fled to Argentina. And then maybe another few years they just caught him when he was like 88 years old. So like the guy was like a really, really bad person. So the fact that he got
88
so much,
years old.
yeah.
At that point, just let him finish out his days. He's pretty much done anyway.
Yeah, but for some reason, those Nazis, they lived to like hundreds.
Really?
Absolutely. For some weird reason, yeah. A lot of them, when you actually check, bro, 90 years old, 88, like all like that, bro. Almost nobody of those high-ranking Nazis, they lived for like forever in this Argentina.
That's crazy.
And other countries too.
You know what? Speaking of high-ranking Nazis, even like I think I would say Adolf Eichmann. That could be probably like the highest-ranking Nazi that got to escape from Germany after the war. And from what I understand, he came to Argentina and he started working like a Mercedes-Benz factory. He actually even got like some like very high position in the company, and he lived there for maybe like 20 years after he was being caught by Mossad. And the way it happened was he was basically saved there. No one even like knew where exactly he was living, what he was doing.
Mossad's like the CIA. Pardon me, but Mossad's like the CIA of Israel, right?
Yes,
correct.
basically. So he would be totally safe and probably could live there until the end of his life. But from what I understand, he had a son, and the son met a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was like a descendant of like German Jews, and I think one of her, maybe it was her father or someone in her family, got killed in the Holocaust. So when his son was either bragging or telling the girl that, you know, that his dad was like one of the top Nazis, that's when she like tipped off Mossad. And they literally went to Buenos Aires. Next to Buenos Aires, they waited on like the bus stop where Adolf Eichmann would go to work every day. So they checked what time he was leaving the house, what time he was coming back, and they literally just caught him. They dragged him out, and they put him on the plane and just like took him out to Israel.
Yo, that is crazy. Yo, think about this, right? Imagine this. Your whole life, your name is Konrad Twardowski. All of a sudden tomorrow, it's, yo, you're no longer this. I'm calling you Juan Lopez. And from that moment on, you are going with that identity. Like, that to me is such an unfathomable thought that some people just have a total switch up in life. Even people that go under like witness protection programs. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what like blew my mind too? Actually, a lot of Nazis that escaped through the rat lines, it was even Red Cross was helping them to get the papers. It was Catholic Church churches from like Genoa or I think Rome. They were kind of like supporting them and like helping them escape.
That's crazy.
And it was like thousands upon thousands of fake documents. So there were so many of them that escaped, got the fake names, and lived until they were old.
They just pretty
So
much
true.
escaped.
At the same time, Nazis got so bold in Argentina. For example, Josef Mengele, he was a angel of death from Auschwitz. He conducted a lot of experiments, a lot of gruesome stuff. We'll not like to get into details here, but he was not a good person.
We want to hear everything.
maybe
On the extended
on the
version?
extended version of the podcast.
But listen,
And he just to finish, he came back to his real name after a couple years in Argentina, and a lot of Nazis, they were literally in Argentina under their own name. They didn't even change it, and everybody were set on fire after the iPhone got caught. That's the point in time when everybody started losing their mind, because they didn't even realize that Mossad could perform such an action, that they come to another country and they basically kidnap this highest ranking Nazi and they bring him back to justice.
Yeah.
By the way, Al Hayman was hanged in Israel.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
And as far as I know, that was the only death penalty in the history of Israel. The Adolf Eichmann
Damn,
one.
that's crazy.
And just bringing it back to Josef Mengele that you said, I was actually reading some interviews with people that were able to survive the camps. And of course, Josef Mengele, he was like a very, very bad person. He would like inject some, let's say, syphilis or some like different diseases into like people, see how they react when they die, how their bodies look like. They would cut them open, do all the stuff without like anesthesia. But something that really like blew my mind was the fact that someone said that he would like to do experiments on twins. So he got like a random pair of younger twins, and he literally sewn them together like Siamese twins.
On some human centipede shit.
Yeah.
This was actually inspired by these events.
No way.
It was. It actually
Are
was.
you-
And this actor who portrays the main character in Human Centipede, the first movie, he, from what I understand, don't quote me on that, but I read that he was deliberately chosen to resemble like a Nazi / type doctor.
Dude, that's crazy.
Because that gets under your skin. That's scary when you see him in the movie, and that's because you associate this with the Auschwitz stuff.
That's crazy.
He literally sewn them together like back to back. They lived for like 3 days, and then after they got gangrene and they died. But he performed so many different things. Like he would try to change the color of the eyes of someone. So he would put like some like chemic stuff into like people's eyes. They would be like,
Dude, think
you're
about
getting
how-
blind. All that, it's crazy.
Think
Yeah.
about how barbaric people used to live. Think about that. From what I understand, like even if you, for example, had like a broken arm, wouldn't they just kind of take it off, like amputate it?
I don't know, but the fact that this guy was able to escape and then live until like older age, and as far as I remember, he died in some like swimming accident. So he was like never prosecuted. He never went on a trial. He like died of like some accident after he was like 70 or 80 years old. The fact that he never really got any repercussions for his actions is crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, guys, what is insane? And I personally hate world for how it works, but that's like being angry on a wind that it blows. It's just how things are. But for example, some of the experiments conducted in those Nazi German concentration camps, they came out causing so much good, because we know nowadays a lot about hypothermia, and that helps saving people, because we know to a certain degree to which moment can you still bring someone back to, say, life, almost from the state of strong hypothermia. But we didn't have that knowledge. It all came from Dachau in Germany. They had those like bathtubs where they just put the prisoners in freezing cold water for like 12 hours to see what happens. And after the war, Americans liberated this camp, but they also found ready to go intel on what happens to prisoners after a certain amount of time in water. And they were like, nah, we're not gonna burn that. I mean, it's gonna be useful, right? And this conducted to save German sailors from being frozen to death in cold waters of Northern Atlantic. But it ended up saving so many people after the war.
Really?
Yeah.
So they actually took something out of that.
They took some.
That reminds
Not
me-
only that, but
That's
far
crazy.
more things.
Really? That's crazy. That low-key just really brings a thought to my mind about how when the U.S. similar situation when they went into Pakistan and got Bin Laden, they pretty much took his computers, which had like tons of videos on it. And you know what's crazy? Like, from what I remember seeing on a documentary, Osama bin Laden was the type of dude where he'd be recording his like sermons in advance, and he'd be recording like 50 tries over because he didn't get the intro right. So you know what's funny? It kind of reminds me with the crypto videos. I'm being real, bro.
Yeah.
That's how it is, dude. That's crazy. But anyway, look, they took a ton of intel from his compound in Pakistan, similar to what you're saying about that.
I have a crazy thing to add to what you said, because you said something like this execution of Adol Eichmann was the only one in the
Eichmann,
history
yeah.
of Israel, right? It is the case to some degree, and it is not to a certain degree, because Eichmann was so high ranking that they wanted to take him back to kind of throw this exhibition trial and to show the world that they're gonna punish this guy. But there were some Nazis which were meaner to Eichmann, but they caused so much pain and suffering. And you know how they did that? They straight up, I heard about this one action of Mossad, they undressed, they only had their underwear, and they caught this guy. 5 of those Mossad agents, they caught this guy in his apartment, and 2 of them grabbed him, and they were like, "We're gonna read you what you're accused of." He read, and that was his trial. And bro, they straight up murdered guy on the spot with the hammer. Murdered him on the spot. That's why they were in underwear, so they can take on the clothes and just leave, because blood is like very hard to get off your clothes. And that's how it was done. For the most part, they just caught him, they read him what he's accused of, and murdered him on the spot.
Damn, that's crazy. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that.
Dude.